We made a bunch of videos on the YouTube channel yesterday, with various levels of views and various levels of engagement. But one of the hottest conversations in yesterday's NHL festivities was the fact that Nick Suzuki hit 100 points on the season. This was a pretty fun game, and a pretty fun video to make too, talking about Suzuki hitting the point mark, talking about Lane Hutson setting a new franchise record for defenseman assists in a season, and seeing David Reinbacher score his first NHL point in his first NHL game. You already know, we have to expand more on this defenseman right here. Because while it's true we did acknowledge his feat in yesterday's video, this was more a commentary on the game itself and the milestones, the stuff going on with the other players. We need to give a bigger focus on the David Reinbacher because it seems like the Montreal Canadiens might actually be getting what it is they wished to get. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very great update for Reinbacher and the Montreal Canadiens because the 21-year-old 6'2", 194 right-handed defenseman had a pretty strong game yesterday versus the New York Islanders. Not only did he log 11 minutes and 17 seconds of time on ice, but he also scored his first NHL point. He was a +1, and he had 2 shots. The fact is, he is already a point-per-game NHL player after being a sub-half-a-point-a-game AHL player this year. We've documented the story of David Reinbacher over the past few years on this YouTube channel, but essentially, he was a guy taken at the very top of the 2023 draft, 5th overall. He was the top defenseman taken out of this selection of guys. And I'm not going to necessarily say that that in itself is an indictment against him. I mean, aside Tom Wielander, a lot of these defensemen from the 2023 draft haven't really had significant playing time either. Dmitry Simashev has 27 games played. You have Axel Sandin-Pellikka, who did get sent down earlier as well. And then you have Oliver Bonk and Tanner Molendyk, guys who haven't even played NHL games to begin with. But the fact that David Reinbacher went 5th overall over names like Matvei Mishkov, Ryan Leonard, and Zach Benson, it was a pretty big deal back for Canadiens fans in 2023. I personally tried to calm the waters because I said, hey, David Reinbacher reminds me a lot of Mo Seider, who ended up also going near the top of the draft in 2019, much to the dismay of Detroit Red Wings fans at the time. Back in 2019, I was like, hey, Seider's going to be a really good pickup for whomever takes him in the 13, 14, 15 range. But the fact that he went 6th, I said it was a pretty big swing. I was right about that. So David Reinbacher, I was kind of saying the same thing, you know, not to recycle my own video commentary ideas from years past. But David Reinbacher was one of these guys that I actually had a pretty reasonably positive expectation for. He was never going to go out there and be a top-tier point producer. He's no Lane Hutson or Cale Makar. But what he was supposed to be was a solid 25-plus minutes a night, minutes-eating, puck-munching, shot-blocking, physical, stable, defensively-minded defenseman who can get some points once in a while. Reinbacher, in a best-case scenario type of ordeal, could potentially get up there as a top 4, maybe even a top 2 defenseman if you give him the right D partner. And so, thinking about what he was able to accomplish yesterday in his first Montreal Canadiens game after so many years of development that were questionable at best, from him sticking around on his terrible EHC Kloten team in the Swiss League, to him getting endlessly injured in the Laval Rocket system, this guy missed out on so much time. And a lot of Canadiens fans were starting to wonder, as far back as like a year ago, hey, is Reinbacher actually going to be the guy that we thought he was going to be when he got drafted? Now, I'm no fortune teller, but if 1 games of a sample size is enough to judge a player so far, then that's exactly what we're going to do. Take a look at this tweet by William LeBlanc. He posted this yesterday during the game. Reinbacher is playing a very solid game. He doesn't look out of place at all. Go Habs Go Matt says, bro is actually cooking, I can't lie. Mike said he's really solid. He might have to earn more ice time soon. Thanks to Arbor, Caroline replied. He played a shift with Struble and he wasn't comfortable, but with Arbor, Reinbacher feels more safe. If he can play like this while being consistent and being healthy, I ain't gonna lie, Montreal's top 4 is going to cook for many years. We need Hudson Reinbacher against the Flyers on Tuesday. This is him on a back-to-back-to-back as well. I am seriously impressed. And you want to talk about a guy who only had 11 minutes in his very first NHL game? Well, I think that's fine, because you take a look at the fact that he had played off against the Belleville Senators on Saturday and the Belleville Senators on Friday. He had 3 games in a row, came into the NHL, had an assist, scored his first point, and didn't look out of place in the process. Marco D'Amico said that Reinbacher logged a total of 11 minutes in his debut, and he recorded an assist. It was a no-nonsense debut for the youngster. He covered a ton of ice and played a safe game and was fluid on his skates. For a kid playing 3 games in 3 nights, it's a more than respectable debut. In 10 years from now, you'll have the exact same scouting report on Reinbacher. He'll still be all that, just better and a minutes-eating defenseman. It's easy to see that one day. He'll be a game-changer in the playoffs in those tight-scored physical games. He is built for it. It kind of felt like he played a very Dobson-like game, which, of course, is great considering the fact that Dobson is week to week. Let's give some love to Arbor Xhekaj as well. They both played well, and Arbor looked quicker. His puck play was on point. They both kept it simple. The prospect Don went out there and said you should never judge a prospect, especially a young defenseman, too early. Let them develop. This is not the NFL where players get drafted at 22 to 25 years old. It takes time, reps, and experience to play with the best of the best. Reinbacher will be a very good NHL defenseman. He had unfortunate injury luck. Happy to see him healthy, and can't wait to see how he progresses. Habs fans rate his debut on a scale of 1 to 10. Looked solid. I'll give him an 8. An easy 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. Easy. And finally, you had the habitant who went out there and asked, hey, I couldn't watch today. How was David Reinbacher? Top reply from Cap Weezus says he was elite. Matheson Dobson, Hudson Reinbacher, Goulet Carrier, this decor is going to cook. Good. He was better than expected. Obviously, he had a couple of moments where he looked like a guy playing his first game, but overall, he looks like he'll make the team next year. And he will be a top 4 defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens. Gabe says that he's already better than Carrier, Struble, and Arbor, playing a smart and efficient game, already stabilizing that third pair. He is the future D partner for Lane Hudson. Singh Du Gavon says, I don't think he's ever going back down to the AHL. Hey, if that's the case, then I think that's a pretty positive development, wouldn't you? If David Reinbacher heads into the Stanley Cup Playoffs and is able to still provide that calming level of play, he doesn't even need to be a point-per-game guy. The guy can get 0 points for all I care, but if he does what he is supposed to do, just plays the simple game and you don't really notice him all too much, then you're kind of already seeing shades of what he is supposed to be long-term. And even though you can say that a Matvei Mishkov, for example, is going to be flashier, you can say that a Zach Benson will get more points. There are so many elements of David Reinbacher's game that are necessary in the NHL, and it's why the Montreal Canadiens, with all the shiny toys and point-producing young guys they have already, decided to take this guy, and they decided to develop him too. Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know how you thought about David Reinbacher and his first NHL game yesterday. And bye.